The first one I want to talk about very briefly, and I can't talk much about it because it's still an open investigation, and that's our Hazel Street homicide that occurred on February 7th. It was about 11:30 p.m. Most of you know that there was a 17-year-old victim in that particular case. And I will tell you that over the last several days, my detectives have been working pretty much 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, doing a tremendous number of interviews, probably in the upwards of 75 to 80 different interviews, doing a tremendous amount in the way of search warrants and other type of legal process like subpoenas and so forth. The workload is overwhelming in that case, but I will tell you that we know a tremendous amount more than we did when the first call came in, and we're definitely making some serious progress on that. And as soon as we have something specific that the detectives will allow me to release, we'll be able to do that. But we have people from every area of the sheriff's office. I won't go over it with you, but they're working very, very hard on that. Also, when you're talking about a 17-year-old victim, it's very easy for passions to run high. We want to make sure that people don't ever attempt to take the law into their own hands. Now we'll talk a little bit about a residential fire that occurred on Harwell Street in Brooksville. This particular crime was called in on January 20th at about 1:20 in the morning. A neighbor actually called saying that there was a house fire, and of course initially we had no indication of whether there was any individual inside the house. It was a very intense fire. After it was extinguished, it took about 90 minutes for fire rescue to extinguish the fire. Pasco Sheriff's Office cadaver dogs were called in, and we did unfortunately locate human remains in the structure. Detectives obtained a search warrant. They did find a deceased human and 4 deceased dogs. Detectives started talking to interviews, and one family member reported dropping off an individual at this particular house, Brianna Amon. Her date of birth is October 7th, 2001. She was dropped off at the house by another family member on 1/19 between 10 and 10:30 p.m. Interviews and subsequent investigation revealed that she was the possible suspect. She has past issues with drugs, some mental health concerns, as well as significant family problems. On 1/23, Amon actually called the sheriff's office claiming she was lost in the woods, and she was actually using the telephone of the victim. She was saying that she needed a ride. When deputies responded to her location, we were not able to locate her. Detectives continued to follow up on leads and hoping to locate her. We did find out that she was, through investigation, found out that she was given a ride by an individual and left the area before detectives got there. Of course, we did an autopsy was performed, and the results on that are still pending, and the state fire marshal is testing for accelerants and so forth. But I will tell you that we did find Amon. Marion County actually found her at a homeless camp, I believe, and she actually admitted to starting the fire. She also stated after starting the fire that she took the victim's cell phone and left the residence on foot, and she also told detectives that she was aware that the victim was sleeping in the residence when the fire was started. She told detectives she stole the victim's cell phone because she needed one, in her words, and she remains at the Marion County Detention Center, and she'll be transported to Hernando County. She's currently charged with first-degree murder, no bond. She's also charged with arson of an occupied dwelling and a $25,000 bond, and grand theft from a dwelling, and her bond on that is $5,000. So she is currently being charged with that particular homicide and that arson. Detectives had to work really hard on that one as well. This is a homeless camp that is on US 19. It is a little bit south of North Cliff. a little bit north of the Lowe's. For those who are familiar with it, there's a Lowe's and a Home Depot. It's a little bit north of that. It's on the east side of the road. And we received a call at about on February 11th, just a couple days ago, and we received a call at about 4:20 p.m. Units were dispatched within about 22 seconds. And the first unit actually arrived in that particular situation about 44 seconds after being dispatched. So we had somebody in the area very quickly. Deputies located a victim who was stabbed and started performing first aid. Of course, Hernando County Fire Rescue was right behind us and transported the individual to a trauma center. And deputies developed suspect information. Regina Ritter. This is a picture of Regina. They started canvassing the area, and the canine actually located her bicycle a short distance away. It's important to note that she did not live in this homeless camp. She actually had a house close by, but she had several acquaintances there, including our victim. They weren't in a relationship as we normally think, but they certainly weren't paramours or anything. They were just acquaintances. And they found her bicycle leaning up against a tree. Fortunately, one of the deputies working the area through good community policing type details was able to contact this individual. He actually had her phone number, was able to contact her, and she said she was in the woods and she was lost. They were able to actually locate her in a wooded area near Hoffman Avenue and Blue Water Avenue, and the investigation revealed that she actually had a writ of bodily attachment for failure to pay child support out of Citrus County. So she was able to be taken into custody under that particular writ of bodily attachment. And after the interview, detectives started conducting a search of Ritter's bag incident to that arrest and located a bloody knife that we believe was used in the stabbing. And the important thing is we had several witnesses there. Again, a lot of interviews had to be done, and we were able to determine that none of the witnesses said that the victim in this case did anything overt. He was not aggressive in any way. They were arguing, but it was totally verbal. And during the altercation, the witnesses said that Ritter actually stabbed the victim. They know each other, they're acquaintances, and the witness statements, of course, were totally opposite from what Ritter was saying as far as what transpired. On February 12th at about 5 o'clock in the morning, unfortunately, the victim in this case was pronounced deceased at the hospital. He had some pretty significant injuries in the chest area, and they were not able to save him at the hospital. So after working with the state attorney's office, Ritter was charged with manslaughter regarding the stabbing and was held on a $30,000 bond. Now, we did serve a search warrant at her house, and we did obtain additional evidence, and an autopsy, of course, was completed by the medical examiner's office, and the results on that are pending.
And you. Well done.